Hey everyone, so I'm currently waiting on Ikari Warrior to show up before we record some Uncharted 2, and in the meantime I thought, hey, you know what? Why don't we play a little bit of Legend of Zelda Link's to the Past? A game I haven't seen in a while, played in a while, so why not? I sure got time to kill. And yeah, I know everybody plays Legend of Zelda, but there's a good reason. It's awesome. Alright, so we got the player select. I'm not feeling particularly creative, so let's just go with default Link. One thing I always thought was interesting about this introduction is that it actually establishes the use of telepathy in the series. Zelda contacts Link and presumably his uncle using telepathy. And it's kind of just sort of this pill they make you swallow right at the beginning. Hey, this shit can happen. Deal with it. And then, interestingly enough, it comes back to be used continually throughout the game. Pretty much all the descendants of the wise man seem to have this ability. Or the wise men. Thanks, Uncle with a sweet mustache. Unfortunately, this game doesn't work very well if you try to follow his advice, but I did always think it was kind of interesting you have to push right to get out of bed. It doesn't actually do it for you, which is an interesting design choice. Over here we have our first item, the lamp, which is used in darkness like a good lamp should. Much better than those shitty lamps that you use in the lights. This was also one of my favorite things as a kid. I always loved how the soldiers would talk to you, tell you to go home. And then, interestingly enough, they also give you the instructions on how to use the controller. So this section is sort of like the tutorial stuff that you get in the N64 versions. A lot shorter. I can lift about this much! Push in your face. I always like the tacked on when you get it thing added there. I always thought it was interesting that this is the only time you can actually read this sign. And incidentally, it's also a lie. So, you know, there's that. But in the future, it'll be replaced by Link's beautiful face. Yeah, I always like that you can talk to the castle guards here. It's the only time in the game you can. For some reason, I also remember this being way harder as a kid because, like, even though there's a path leading directly where you should go and it's the only bush ever surrounded by tile, I somehow still missed it. Whatever. I was dumb as a kid. Not shocking. Zelda is your ... repeating, and you'll never know what he was going to say. Also, you're like the worst whatever you are ever. I mean, you broke your legs by falling down that pit or something? I don't know. Nobody killed him, that's for damn sure. Anyway, this section's kind of interesting when you think about it from a gameplay perspective, because you have two knights which take 2 damage to kill. You have a pot here and some magic, and the first bit of cash altogether. This magic thing does nothing other than introducing you to the fact that you need magic power and that it exists. And the 2 knights, interestingly enough, take 2 hits each. They actually don't introduce you to any enemies you can kill with 1 hit. Each soldier takes 2. So it's sort of introducing the concept that, hey, there are enemies in this game and they're going to take multiple hits. Right from the start, which is pretty interesting. Castle music is so incredibly awesome. Of course, much like the main theme, this is one of those themes that does get remixed quite a lot. And for good fucking reason. I always thought this was kind of interesting too, sort of a limitation of the hardware, or possibly intentional, but I always thought it was weird you couldn't throw a pot at someone from above. Nope. That didn't work. And down here we have the beginning of what is essentially the first dungeon. Here's also our first 3-hit soldier. As you can see, these soldiers are slightly more difficult since they have that protruding sword. You have to sort of dodge or position yourself around. Also, this is possibly the best animation in the game. I love this. I loved it so fucking much as a kid. I love it even now. So much so that I'm probably going to spend my time here making sure every single one of these fuckers gets knocked off the cliff. Even to my own detriment or danger. No, no, no. You will go off. You will go off the cliff. You son of a bitch. Alright, I entirely lied. That's fine. We move on. Not gonna lie, still kind of pissed off he ruined my plan. What the hell? I'm supposed to activate. I always love the little sound that they make when they activate or, realize you're there. Doesn't really make any sense, and I can't really compare it to anything. Whatever. Here's our first enemy gates. As you can see, unlike the previous games, they're now differentiated by a giant, ugly, evil face on the door for some reason. And I also demonstrated the boomerang, which, I don't know why I did that. It's a boomerang. It works exactly like it does in all the other Zelda games. So one thing I've been challenging myself to do is try to figure out reasons why everything exists in this game. I have no clue why B2 exists. I've been trying my best. It's a 2-second long hallway. I cannot think of a goddamn reason for it to be there. I'd have to probably do some serious looking into an editor to figure that out, but that's not really worth it. Anywho, here we have the first ball and chain trooper. Pretty much the first mini-boss of the game. He's slightly more difficult than anything we've seen at this point. Thankfully, those 3 pots over to the left do contain hearts, so everybody knows that at this point, but it's nice and useful. You also get your first big key. The many locks that others cannot typically means treasure, or in this case, cell door. The not at all option here is interesting in case you want to reread something, but I remember so many times as a kid hitting it, just trying to be a smartass, and then being forced to reread a fuck ton of stuff. Here's hearts, yay. But yeah, I had to I think I did not at all to the upcoming speech by the dude at the church. Yeah, that's not funny. Seriously, it takes like a full minute or so every time, and then I'd be like, not at all. Aw, shit. Well, I'll do it again. I'm still a big a-hole, but yeah, I guess I didn't learn anything. Thanks, video games. You, off the cliff. Oh yeah! Love how everything pauses when you go upstairs. As with all soldiers, we can actually make pretty short work of this guy with the boomerang. Every hit he takes, he'll actually stay in stasis or frozen or whatever. I don't know what it is about throwing pots at soldiers, but, well, really throwing pots at anything, but I fucking love it. Love it to death. Alright, we're almost back to the main hallway. And of course Zelda gives us an update. Inside the throne room is the entrance to the sanctuary, which is, we all probably know, unless you gave up within the first few seconds of playing this game. Regardless, I always thought this was a pretty cool idea. I don't really recall seeing anything like this at the time. I mean, to be fair, it really is probably very simply done, like, is Princess Zelda following? Yes, then you can move shelf. But still, it was really cool for me. Alright, I'm just gonna light this thing. no clue where those rats went, and I don't want to really mess with it too much. Again, love throwing pots at stuff. Here. Bam! Oh, nice! We got like a Matrix-style slowdown to the light turning off. Holy crap, that's a lot of ropes. I forgot there's that many, actually. I do find it interesting that I'm still kind of falling back into patterns that I used to use a lot as a kid. Like, I do remember this, and I would like to go backwards with a sword, but that seems incredibly fucking dangerous for no good reason. Yeah, for example, here's the sort of thing I remember doing a lot as a kid. Like, always hit the left one, go over here, get the chest, head back up. I don't know why, it may not even be the smartest path to do that in, but habits are habits. Anyway, pretty certain this remains, yeah, you can just head to the left here, and then, if I remember correctly, you can actually just go straight up, and that's the door right there. Yep! Sweet! Haven't forgotten everything. I know one of these rats has the goddamn key. Oh, that was easy. This area, of course, is the first place we see one of the specific areas that can be knocked down using the Pegasus boots, although you don't really know that at this time. I remember the first time I saw it, I actually thought it was going to be a bombable spot. Turns out that is not at all what bombable spots look like. But whatever. I'm not supposed to have that knowledge yet. In fact, the very first time you get the Pegasus boots, it will, of course, have one of those sections right next to it, encouraging you to go ahead and play around and slam into it, which means that'll forever change your opinion of those little holes in the wall. Nintendo puts a lot of really cool touches like that in their early games, and hell, they still do to this day, sort of trying to get you used to things at a natural rate. This one I always thought was interesting, because I remember as a kid going, how would I ever know which switch to pull first? And there's actually a very simple mechanic behind it, which I never realized until recently. Of course, the only switch which you get instructions on how to use the switch on is the one that works. The other one, of course, just drops a bunch of fucking snakes on your head. We will say fuck that and leave. Just like Indiana Jones. So here we have the really the first plot dump in the game. Zelda and this old man are sort of going to dump all the history of the game on top of you, and sort of give you enough of a backstory that when they release you into the open world, you have a bit of motivation to, you know, go and smash things with your sword. Although it is a little odd that this one poor guy just woke up on the wrong fucking night, and now he's got to save the world. Everyone seems sort of okay with all that. Then again, if you believe in the Zelda timeline, which, for the love of God, I will not be discussing to much detail, this game takes place pretty far after many, many other Links have had just shitty fucking luck with Destiny, and it must be sort of just assumed at this point. It's like, hey, you're in green! Good luck finding the Master Sword and killing the pig guy! Remember about the light arrows! You know. That'd be pretty sweet. They should do that. It becomes like an ironic Zelda. Love the hipster Zelda. Anyway, we have semi-clear instructions now to head out to Kakariko Village, which I think is how you pronounce that, but I can't really be sure, because I've never once heard it said, because there's no voice acting in the Zelda series. Fuck you, sign. This, of course, is the fortune teller who just wastes your money and tells you to do the thing you're already doing, unless you haven't played the game in a while. That's a kind of cool little feature to be like, hey, what am I supposed to do? And they'll go like, oh, hey, go talk to the old man. And you're like, alright, cool. It's a really lowbrow way to describe that whole thing, but Still true. Here we get a lore dump about the Master Sword. And one of those things where the Hylians are sort of vaguely hinted at as this long-lost society, even though they have human beings with pointy ears, which are basically all Hylians are. Just Nintendo elves. But yeah, it's one of those things that they don't really decide to explain too well, and I mean, to be fair, these games have sort of ballooned a bit beyond what they initially went with in the early stories, so you can't really expect everything to sort of gel all together despite how much they want to convince you that it does. Here we find our first bomb pickup. It's going to give us 3 bombs, which we will place here while I go pick up some goddamn money. This was always one of the last pieces of heart I always picked up until, I don't know, probably my 3rd or 4th time playing through this game when I realized how much sense it made to go through this way first. For some reason I always forgot that little drop existed, but getting these 3 free bombs is pretty, well, it's pretty useful. Now that we have bombs, we'll head into the thieves' hideout here next to the Elder's house, which is a kind of strange fucking location. I mean, the guy who runs the entire place is right next to the thieves. Let's see if I can solve this goddamn puzzle. Alright, well, I think that'll do it if I just push 2 more down. Like here, and here, and then if I push this one left, ha! I win! Man, it's been a long time since I've solved that puzzle. Anyway, the reason we waited to come here before we got the bombs is to head up here, make sure we grab this wonderful piece of hearts. Now you can get about a full heart piece before you head off to the first dungeon. Not super useful, but we'll do it anyways, because goddamn it's how we do it in Hyrule. Yeah, and yes, I am massively aware how nerdy that was. Actually, you know what? I totally forgot to head into the Lost Woods, so we're gonna make a right here and head back up and actually do that. Heading to the Lost Woods in the first section is sort of important because it prevents a little bit of backtracking unless you really are desperate to not have the powder until, like, after you get the Master Sword or something, but eh. We can do it now, we're already here, plus there's a heart piece. A piece of hearts, not a heart piece. There is a quarter of a heart right down the fuck here. Of course, you can go in the front, and then you're supposed to see, oh, hey, I can't get up there. I wonder how I do it. I'm not going to do that because I know how to do it. You know how to do it. And also, who cares? Plus, I don't want to pad out the video length for no fucking reason. Also, that little tip about the guy hiding out in the desert is a pretty important piece for later when you're trying to figure out the last bottle puzzle. It's kind of interesting how early they drop that knowledge on you, again, considering that the bottle piece isn't for a long time. I keep using the word piece. It's not a bottle piece, it's just a magic bottle. Thankfully, the crows actually just left me alone that time. They tend to actually just come back and punch me in the face for no truly good reason. Okay, they don't really punch. They hit me in the face. Peck me in the face. Although now I do want to see a bird punch someone. Alright, so we got a little bit more exploring to do. I think we've covered pretty much the top half of this place. This guy here, of course, has the first bottle, but we're not, well, okay, first, quote-unquote, bottle, or quote-unquote first. It's not a, god damn it, what the hell am I saying? Anyway, we're going to get a bottle after, because I always thought this was interesting, how he refers to you as Brother Link. He's like, hey, you have a bottle? No? Go fuck yourself. Then you come back later and he gives you this long, sad speech. But the dismissal message is kind of interesting. This, of course, is foreshadowing for a little bit later in the game. Probably one of the first things we'll do once we get to the Dark World. And, of course, foreshadowing for what happens probably 2 palaces in, I think. We'll do that. We'll go see the waterfall. The lady at the waterfall. Anywho, the person we need to speak to, of course, is over here, this little kid. And we're talking about his grandpa, apparently. Of course, updates the spot on our map to be the palace. And over here is a neat little bomb recharge. Or a neat little spot where you can recharge your bombs. I always thought it was interesting that this wall doesn't make a sound. Like, most of them, you can tell we were supposed to bomb just by the sound it makes. Not so much here. You just kind of have to know you can do it. Yeah, I used to use this place all the time. It's a really handy spot to fill up on bombs. Now that we have 5... Oh, by the way, that center one is always empty. But yeah, now that we have 5, we're pretty much fine for the future. We'll get more from drops from enemies and such. And since I have nothing better to do, I guess we might as well do the cuckoo thing here. Here we go. Spam the button. Spam. Must kill. Chicken. Chicken. Die. Must get him. Chicken. God, pushing button. How long does this take? Oh shit! Slow down. Damn, that was a dodge. Whoop. Oh yeah. Surviving the chicken holocaust unscathed. Alright, and, oh. Oh yeah. Alright, whatever. I had to get away from the chickens. I'm okay with wasting time. Down here is the backside of the restaurant/bar. And of course, where will you find a bottle? In the back of a bar. Duh. And there's a chicken in the pot for no reason. Anyway, now that we got a bottle, we can head back up here to Bug Boy's house. And then he'll give us this long speech, which kind of almost sounds a lot like he doesn't know us, even though he's like, "Hey, what's up, buddy? Now let me tell you the sad story about how I caught a cold." Anyway, we've now got the bug catching net, which is going to be super duper useful. And what we can do is... Well, there's a couple more things to do here. I guess, we haven't... Oh, you know what? Here. If we sneak past this lady and head in here, we have what is something that I never found out until much, much, much after I got the game. That is one of those things where you just have to sort of pull on everything and, hey, that's Mario! I wonder what happens if I try to rip off his face! And, of course, the villagers do the whole, like, hey, here he is! Whatever. Anyway, let's go get our bottle. There we go. 100 rupees for a bottle, not too bad. Checking the bonnet there will, of course, alert the guards. This one, just scaredy cats. Get out of here, witch! Pink witch. Alright, well, we're pretty much done with this area. We can head down here to get the last piece of heart that's really available to us at this point in the game. I think there might be a couple if I was willing to really go out of my way, but yeah, we'll get them as we come to them. By the way, this is a really fucked up thing to do, I just gotta say. Oh, here's the sound I was talking about earlier. Anyway, this is a really messed up thing to do. It's like, hey, I'm having a fight with my brother. Fuck him, I'm sealing up the shared wall. Not only does he seal up the shared wall, but he seals up the shared wall and makes him jump off a goddamn cliff to get out. That's pretty fucked. Or even climbing up the cliff. Anyway, outside the brother's house is this chick who gives us a contest to reach the end in 15 seconds. Even though I have no idea why this is happening at all. But regardless, we get our piece of heart. Booyah! Heart level increased. Alright, well that's pretty much it for this area. Let's see. Well, since I gotta go to the next palace anyway, what we can do is do the old-fashioned save and quit trick. Hop back in, start from Link's house. Yay! I teleported at the cost of 1 heart. So, whatever. Alright guys, that's it for the first episode. I'm done wasting time. Hopefully Ikari will be on here in the next few seconds so we can actually get back to regular commentary. But in the meantime, I don't know, maybe I'll just play through this game on the side. Who knows?